to discuss today is, you know, the decisions which the founder takes, which defines the unicorn. Now, in today's world, the startup success is filled with pivotal decisions that can transform a company into a unicorn, right? Uh, there are a lot of mental frameworks, mindsets, toolkits which are available and which we will talk about in the journey as we progress. So with that, I would like to, probably quickly take opportunity to introduce myself to everyone. Thanks, Aki, for introducing me. But it will be a good idea for everyone to, just have a understanding about me, that, who am I and what is the credential which I am having in order to talk about this particular, uh, session. Now, so my name is Abhishek Damani, and I am a founder and CEO of World AI Business Solutions Private Limited, which is based out of Nagpur, Maharashtra, and which provides various business solutions in various different industries. Right? I am a computer science engineer background, and I have done my you know studies from IIM Calcutta, and also done my supply chain. I'm a supply chain expert. Did my certification course from IIM Ahmedabad as well. Um, Global professional with 2 decades of experience, as I too mentioned. This is my second time entrepreneurship, which I have started, uh, having worked in the consulting industry for last 2 decades worldwide, in different geographies as well. Uh, Obviously, because of the consulting background, the expertise which I carry, or which spans across critical business pillars, are leadership development, technology transformation, corporate strategy, you know, management consulting, sales and marketing, etc. Now, the most important thing is I come from Kolkata, which is a home for Royal Bengal Tigers. And from Kolkata, I have actually shifted to Nagpur, which is called the Tiger capital of India, right? So it is basically it shows a lifelong, kind of a habit of living within the zone of tigers, right, and surrounded by tigers. So that basically helps me to make sure that we are having all the different skills and all the different strategies which are required for us to be successful, right? So, having talked and having said about myself, I would like to quickly delve upon, what our today's topic is. Now, the most important thing is we have to understand that what is going on in the founder's mind when they are actually going out and they are starting something on their own. We need to understand that the unicorns are rarely born from a first business plan. The first business plan or the first idea which you are coming out with, it rarely succeeds, and it rarely remains the same idea, because it has to go through a lot of course correction over a period of time. When it gets evolved, when you go out in the market, when you start doing the strategy, when you start doing the planning, when you start doing the implementation of your idea into the market, and when you start going out in the market and talking to people and doing the sales and marketing, at all these stages you have to make sure that you are doing course correction. And the founder who is able to do this with a high quality product, the speed of execution, and the courage of making these changes, that is where the key inflection point lies. We need to understand that most of the founders at the early stage, pre-revenue, or maybe at the time of initial ideation stage, etc., we have 80% of our idea is just ambiguity, that we think that it might work, it might not work, something else will happen, etc., etc. And 20% of the ideas are with proper back data and information. Hence, we all have to take a lot of judgmental calls. It cannot be something which can be prepared within spreadsheets. Obviously, you have to have some data and your back decision making, but most of the things are judgmental call, which we have to look into, right? Now, having said that, we have to also understand that what are the strategic inflection points, right? What are the moments where the growth curves either breaks upward or the company completely dies, right? So that is what we will be looking into in the next slide. Now, let's understand first what are the major inflection points which we have. The most important thing which we have to understand is most of the founders, they don't understand whether the product which they are working on, whether it is the product market fit or not. They just want to build something and without understanding whether it is acceptable in the market or not. That is something which we have to avoid. We have to make sure that we are not going into a direction where everything is unavailable or we are unable to understand things, right? So the most important thing is we have to discuss with the stakeholders. We have to discuss with the potential clients or the leads so that we can get commitments from them. We can understand from them that yes, this is what something which we will be in a position to do, right? So, and that is very important. That is very, very important, and it means that we are able to move forward, right? If we see that there is a discrepancy between the two, we have to make sure that we change direction. We can't commit to a simple, one thing which doesn't work. We have to keep changing our direction, and we have to be agile. We have to be flexible. We have to be adaptable, right? The early signs of traction actually matters because the clients will be involved in it. They will be engaged in it. You will be able to retain those clients. Otherwise, you will start seeing that the users who are there or the clients which are there, they will start showing you the desperation that no, it is not working, or it is something which is not going to work for us, right? So we have to be very clear that the product market fit is there. The second most important thing is the product focus versus the expansion of multiple categories or expansion of the product into multiple categories. According to me, or according to various experts in the market, most of the people will say that do fewer things, but do it better. First, become expert in one area, then you start moving either horizontally or vertically, right? If you are able to find out one particular problem and you are able to nail it down, and you are able to make sure that the product exactly works and it takes care of that particular problem, you are able to expand into that category, and then from there you will be able to expand into multiple other categories as well, because you know what the problem statement is and you can easily able to take care of that problem in multiple different sectors. So it is extremely important that whether you want to focus on one particular problem, one particular product, or whether you want to expand to multiple different sectors with the same product, that is the judgment which the founders have to keep in mind and take as we move along. The next most important thing is that the people are assets for organization. See, what happens is when the founders are doing the work, even though they know most of the thing, they know the idea, they know how to execute, they know most of the nuances which are there for getting the things rolled out, you still need people. And you need people who are there to support you, who are there to understand your vision, who are there to grow with you. And that is why it is very important that you hire the right people. If you have wrong people in the team, the company is going to suffer. And it is always better to let go the wrong people. Don't get the wrong people in the organization. Number one. But in case if you are able, in case you are getting the wrong people also, because people are judgmental, getting the people on the organization, even after multiple rounds of interview, it is a judgmental thing, because people can either make it or fake it, right? So we will need to understand that if there is a pain which is coming up, just go and kill it. Otherwise, your momentum is going to get hampered. The next most important thing is that if you think that you need people to execute certain vision, to execute certain products, to make sure to go out in the market and talk about your product, to develop your product, etc., take those decisions faster. If we are delaying those decisions, we are going to lose in the game, and we will go back to almost 12 to 18 months, 1 year or 2 years back, which is something which startups should avoid, because the whole fundamental of getting into the startup is you want to go fast. You want to probably do a lot of things. Maybe something might work, maybe something might not work. The failure will help you, will give you learning. But what you are doing, that will make sure that you are able to do a lot of research work. You are able to do a lot of different things within your organization. And if you have right people in the organization, they will help you getting those things done. And if you have wrong people in the organization, they will always try to curb your ideas. They will always try to say, oh, this will not work. Why do you want to do this? This person is not making sense, etc. And things will not work within your organization. And hence it is very important that you have the right people, you are surrounded by right people, and you are surrounded by people who understand your vision, who understand what you are thinking, whether there is potential in it, and they are able to grow along with you. Now, one thing which founders always have to keep in mind is whether you are looking for revenue and at what scale. Being a second time entrepreneur, what I have understood is that if you try to monetize too early, you have probably not able to get the fruits of what you have done. The sweat, the blood which you have given in the initial phase of your startup journey, you are not able to take advantage of it. And that is where we say that, okay, I want to take an exit and I want to get my money. But you are not able to take the growth which you were supposed to take. And you are killing the growth. And if you monetize too late, then the problem is, if you have enough cash in your balance, if you have enough reserves in your account, you don't have to worry. But if there is no reserves in the bank account and you are thinking, no, I don't want to sell out my stake, or I don't want to monetize, then again you are having a problem, because you cannot survive, you cannot sustain also. So you have to understand when to monetize. The next most important thing is you have to understand that when is your burn rate is coming, when is your dead end coming, and when you have to understand whether you want to basically pursue to continue to with this particular idea, or you want to just let go it, right? That is the sunk cost syndrome. Now the pivots have to be taken in 3 different signals. One is when you have a clear unmet user pain. If the user has a pain and you are trying to solve that pain, you should go ahead and you should continue with your idea. But if you are seeing that the user pain is not getting met with the idea which I am trying to give, you should not pursue that idea. Just try to do more evaluation, which we will see in the next slides, or which we'll see when we are talking about it. And hence we have to take care of that. We have to understand the behavioral demands which are there in the market. And we also have to understand the insights which we are bringing as a founder. It's our differentiation factor, right? Now, going to the inflection radar. So the inflection radar is basically to understand that whether a particular idea should be pursued or we should not be pursuing that particular idea. And how we have to judge that is, there is a user pain wherein people have to understand whether actually it is solving any problem or we are just doing it for the sake of it. We have to be very clear about the fact that whether there is going to be any engagement from the customers, whether their customers will keep on coming back and purchasing our product or services or anything which you are trying to innovate, or you are just, probably the product is not going to be of any use. Whether you are seeing something which the competitors is not seeing, or whether you have some USP which is completely unique for you and currently maybe it is not available in the market. And the most important thing is why you want to do it now. When you have so many things which are there in the market, what is the most important factor which is driving you to pursue this particular idea or pursue this particular, new venture now? Now, for all these questions, we have a scoring parameter. So you need to go and you need to do the scoring of this parameter based on the different dimensions which are available. If you see that your scoring, when you are talking to multiple clients, multiple people, you have to do the scoring. And when you do the scoring and you realize that the scoring is less than 12, that means you should not pursue this idea. This idea is something which is a pivot candidate. Let's figure out something else. And if you see that the score is more than 16, then it means it is a great idea. You should double down on that and you should pursue that particular idea. And that is very important for all of us, because most of the time we don't even understand what exactly we have to do and where exactly we have to take a stop. Now, if we are able to understand this, and if we are able to adapt with the changing condition of the market, of the environment, we will see that there will be a lot of signals which will be coming from the market. And we should be probably understanding and taking the edges from the market about that particular inflection point. Okay? Moving on, the most important thing is we need to understand the psychology of the founders. See, every founder has a lot of things going on in his mind and in his heart. It could be good for them, and it is a double-edged sword. It could be good in one sense, and it could be bad in another sense also. But the fundamental thing is every founder, they have some emotional thing in their heart or in their mind which they want to associate with. And that is something which logic doesn't define that. They are not logical operators. They are emotional people. And we will see how we have to navigate this particular journey of psychology. So to understand and to make sure that we don't get into the psychological factors, there are certain models which we should understand. The first most important thing is the stress decision curve. Now, what it means is sometimes the founders, they will say that I don't want to take any stress and hence I don't want to take any decision, because taking any decision will have any impact and it will get into some results, and hence I don't want to take any decision. I'll just keep it my low stress because I can't take stress. There will be some founders who will say that no, I want to take decisions. I want to take optimal decisions by doing all sorts of risk evaluation, and then I am okay with moderate stress because I can take certain stress up to a certain limit and I want to move ahead and by taking certain decisions. And there will be some founder who will say that, you know, I want to take all the stress because they will be working alone. They don't want to have any co-founder. They don't want to have any team. They want to do everything on their own. And that's where their entire emotional stress goes into drain. You know, you can do everything for some time. You can't do it for a long. And you can't do it forever. So there is a difference between what is the short term, long term, and perpetual business model, right? For short term, it is good, but for a longer term, it becomes a survivor. You can't even survive. You might collapse completely because you are doing everything on your own, and you will collapse. And hence, we need to understand that any founder, the stress level should be moderate, and you should take decisions faster, but you should also do course correction as and when you are moving ahead, right? The next important thing is the biases. See, most of us, we have certain or the other bias, which is going on in our head. Sometimes we will say that I am right, your data is wrong. What I think is exactly how it should happen. That is the confirmation bias. And we should always be away from confirmation bias. We should always have a learning mentality. We should always be in a position to understand, evaluate, think, and research also, right? And talk to clients. Go and talk to clients. Go and talk to your potential leads, whether they are ready to pay for it or not. So you can't say that, you know, I am right, we are right, but data is wrong. The next most important bias which kills most of the unicorns is the sunk cost fallacy. Now, what happens is there is founder, he will say that I have spent 6 years, I have spent 4 years, I have spent 3 years doing or building something. And I've spent so much time, so much energy, so much money, but I'm not going anywhere. But they would still want to pursue that particular thing. I don't know why. See, you have not got any result. Why don't you pivot? Why don't you do something else? Right? And that is where it is very important to understand that it is okay to let something go. It's okay. But it is not okay to continue to do the same thing which is not working for almost, a lot of years. Right? We have to understand that. The next is the hero bias. This is the most common among all our founders, initial stage founders. We think that we can do everything. We are the hero. We can do thinking, we can do coding, we can do marketing, we can do sales, we can do customer support, we can go and reach out to people, etc. We can do everything. But please understand, we are in the real life. We are not in the pictures. We are not in the drama where it shows that, one hero, he does everything on his own. In real life, it doesn't happen that way. You have to have a team. You have to have people. You have to have right sort of choices with whom you are working with whom you are trying to collaborate, with whom you are trying to build a relationship. Right? And hence, don't try to solve everything yourself. Reach out for help. Reach out for collaboration. reach out for consultation. And that's why everybody is, trying to open their advisory and consulting and so many things. Why do you think the big consulting companies are still there? Even though there are so many founders which have come up, because they understand, they are in doing consulting for ages. They understand that everything cannot be done by one person. And that's why they are offering you a helping hand, that we are there to support you. The next is the optimism bias. Now here what happens is, I think my idea will work and it is going to become a next unicorn. And we are overestimating our growth only. We are overestimating that, we will continue to keep doing the same thing and we will do everything. And we are underestimating that how much psychological burn or how much psychological effect we are having out of that. You are underestimating that you are burning your midnight oil. You are burning your health. You are burning your fitness. You are burning so many things, money also, right? So don't be too optimistic about any idea. First, go and test it. Test in the market whether it is working or not working. We don't know whether it will work or not, right? And hence, don't become too much optimism about any idea. Go slow. Go step by step. Go slow. The next is the decision fatigue. Now, here what happens is that we say that we want, our choices are very high quality choices. And when we want the high quality choices, we are actually degrading the volume. We are unable to scale. And hence what happens is, we are doing the same thing again and again. Let's say, for example, customer support. The customer support person will say, I am doing customer support every day in, day out, day in, day out. Why don't you create an agentic AI? Why don't you create an AI agent? Why don't you automate those processes? Create some innovative things so that you can get out of that customer support and probably do something more meaningful in your life. Right? So those are the changes, those are the behavioral changes which we as a founder have to start taking into account so that we can get success. The next is the founder personas. Now this is where all of us, rather most of us, fall into. Everybody has some persona. Somebody are visionary. They are, they have a very good vision. They can navigate the vision. They have a clear direction where they want to go, what they want to do, how they want to keep things simple, how they want their execution to happen, and they have planned it properly. Some people are very data oriented, and most of my friends who are from the financial background, they are the very, very data enthusiast people. They will always say that, my Excel sheet or my data is telling me this, that, etc., etc. So I think based on my analysis and based on my analytical thinking, this is what it is going to happen. And they get into the bias of the data. And hence, they can't even do anything, whatever they are thinking. Because they are very slow in doing anything. They will keep on thinking about risk. They can't move ahead fast. The next is the warlord operator. Now here what happens is, they are very, very high energetic people. They are very high in execution. They are called execution powerhouse. But the problem is, they don't have strategy sense. They don't know what to do. They want to do something. They have a very high power, or they have a very high willingness to do something. But the strategy is not there, the planning is not there, and because of that unavailable of strategy, they get into this problem of, the entire thing collapses. Because they are not moving based on the strategy. They are just moving because they want to do something, that's it. So we have to make sure that we don't get into these fallacies. Now the next thing is managing the chaos and the ambiguity, which all of us or most of the students who are thinking of going into the entrepreneurship entrepreneurship or they want to do startup, you all will get into this particular thing, because the fact of the matter is that chaos is going to be there in the startup, and it is the operating system. It is not something which is a bug or which you can avoid. It's not possible. That is how the operating system of a computer is operating. The same thing, the for startups, the chaos has to happen, because most of the unicorns which we will see in the future will, who have come out as a early stage startup, they all have gone through the chaos and ambiguity in their early stages. Now, how do we move if there is so much of chaos, if there is so much of ambiguity? What are the options we have? So the first foremost option is the clarity of mission. You should be clear about what exactly you want to do. What is your mission? What exactly you want to do? What is your vision? Right? If you have able to define the mission properly, you are almost navigating through the chaos. You are almost able to make sure that this is what I am going to do, and this is what my path for doing this particular thing is. Right? The next thing is the prioritization framework. This is the most important and most underrated framework. Everybody thinks that they want to do everything, and in the process either they go for, the money ends, the burn ratios, the burn rate is very high, the health suffers, the fitness goes for a toss, you are not even able to talk to your family, you are not even able to go and socialize, and everything goes for a toss, and you are sitting in a room and just trying to do everything. That's absolutely wrong. We have to prioritize. We have to make sure that let's do the prioritization of work. What is most important for us should come at the top, and what is something which can wait, we should probably let it happen or take it up afterwards. That's why we have these three principles of ice, rice, and Moscow. When the impact of what you are doing is very high, and you have a very good confidence that yes, this will work, and it is easy to do, you should go ahead and you should do it, because it gets multiplied and you are able to navigate through it very fast. If your reach, if your audience is very wide, and you are confident that yes, it might work, I will have a good impact on the entire audience, and my effort for this particular thing is very low, you should again go and do this, because it requires very less money, very less effort, it requires very less time. Obviously you should go ahead and do it. The next most important thing is you should be clear about what is the must-haves, what are the should-haves in your product, and what are the could-haves, and what won't have now. It will come later. Don't even think about creating those everything at once. It is not possible. It is impossible for anyone to visualize entire system at once to start with, to begin with. And that's why you will see that there are so many examples. Take Apple, take Google, take any big company, Microsoft, for example. Everybody is coming out with a product. They are giving it to you. Do the beta testing, do everything, alpha testing, beta testing. They launch it and they make sure they keep on updating it. They keep on adding more. They keep on adding more. Until unless it becomes a very robust platform. But still, they are not stopping over there. Now they are expanding their categories. That's how the product has to be thought through. When as a product, as a founder or as a startup who is willing to go into the product side. Now, you should always have a very rapid feedback loop. Now, what do you mean by feedback loop? Means you should always talk to your clients. You should always understand that, okay, what is that they want? What is something which they don't want? What is that they like? What is something which they don't like? There has to be a weekly call. There has to be a daily matrix of, okay, what is going, what is working, what are the new features we should be launching in this product, etc. And if you have these loops going on, feedback is coming from various factors, not only clients. You can have internal feedback also. You can have feedback from, let's say, some other companies also who are there in the similar kind of field. So there has to be a continuously, a system should be there so that you can keep getting feedback from different sources. Now you see, as I said, founder always think themselves as a hero, and hence they are full of energy. They are absolutely, always on the toes. But we need to understand that we have to channelize our energy in a proper way. And hence, energy management is also very important. Where exactly are you putting your energy? Whether you are putting your energy in the right direction, whether you are putting your energy in something which is not very helpful, you are putting your energy into somewhere where it is not going to make sense. You have to balance your energy into what makes sense for you, where you should put your extreme and entire energy. That is very important. And last but not the least is your contingency strategy. You as a founder should know what is your run rate. How much is the run rate? How much? 6 months can you survive without any revenue? 1 year you can survive without any revenue, or you cannot survive for one month also. You have to have a clear mindset. This is what I am willing to take a risk, and beyond this point, I'm not going to take any risk because I know it is not going to work for me. If it is not working for 6 months, if it is not working for 6 years, my friend, it is not going to work for you. For even if you try it for next 16 years, we have to pivot. We have to make sure that we have removed our dependencies. We have removed our biasness from that product. Right? Now, how do we do this? Now, I understand, okay, we understand that, okay, this is what we are supposed to do, but how do I do? Now, for that, we have certain tools. What are those tools? Instead of going for annual planning, generally we do financial planning, financial budgeting, everything we do it for annual basis. That is our general trend, standard practice. Startups don't follow that practice. You have to have your planning done for next 4 weeks, which is your month. You have to have a monthly planning. Even better if you can do a weekly planning. If you can do your weekly planning, this is what we are planning to do, this is what we are planning to achieve in this week, and this is what we are going to achieve in this week. Do your planning, do your course correction in the planning. Because the more you plan, the more there are chances you will fail. And it is okay, it is good to fail. Because you can always improvise on it. You can always do course correction. You can always learn from faster failing. And you can always strive and thrive in the next budgeting or in the next planning which you are trying to do. The next most important thing is do small testing, do small experiments, create some create products, very fast and give it to someone for, maybe prototype, give the prototype to someone. Tell them, okay, can you just have a look at it? Can you see whether it is working or not? Whether it is helping you, whether it is something which will make sure that your problems are being addressed. If they say yes, that is the time and that is the signal that you should go ahead. You should always have a North Star. And there has to be a proper matrix which has to be defined for your North Star. And last but not the least is you should have a mechanism where all the decisions which you are taking, it is being captured somewhere. You are taking note of all the decisions which you are taking, so that it doesn't look like that all the decisions which you are taking without thinking through, or you are taking based on your emotions, or you are taking based on certain biasness. So we should not do that. We should always have a law of whatever we are doing. Yeah. Now I'll talk about the role of intuition and data. Now, see, most of the time the unicorns basically, you know, the decisions which are being taken at the initial level, it is 30% only data. 70% is our intuition based. 30% we can go and we can talk, we can get all the data, we can do everything, number crunching in Excel, we can do all sorts of models, everything you can do, all predictions, everything can be done. But ultimately, when it has to be done, it is based on the intuition only. So hence, intuition is very important. Now for that, we have another different models. I will quickly do that because we have a lot of things to cover about and we are almost, you know, at the top of the hour. So when do you want to trust the data and when do you want to trust the intuition? When you are seeing that there is a product market fit, when there is a experiments which small experiments which you are doing, it is giving you results, that is the time when you should trust the data. But when you don't have any idea, when you are at a very early stage, when there are no customers to serve, you are deciding which customer I should be bringing in to serve them. Then at that time, it is good to have the intuition. You should hire the right people. You should have a brand vision. You should have a mission, what you are going to solve. And don't go with the historical data. Okay, this guy, he did something and he failed. Or someone else tried something and they failed. Maybe they failed because they don't know the data. They don't know the way of doing things. Or maybe you can do things better. Right? So don't go with the historical data. And then obviously we have to make sure that we have a deep connection with the customers. We are learning from our past failures and we are trying to do something which is very unique, right? From the product perspective. Now, what happens is when we try to do this, either we can do it or we will probably fail. But it is not about whether you fail or not fail. It is about when you are doing this, what is the time in the market and who is your market? Where are you trying to do this particular thing? Where are you trying to sell this particular product? That is something which has to be clearly understood. Otherwise, everything becomes paralyzed. Paranoid and all the paralysis will start coming. Moving on, the high stake founder decisions. Basically, founder have to take decisions. Since the startup is a place where lot of experiments are done, lot of different new things are coming up, you are going and talking to so many people, you are trying to do so many things at once, and hence you have to keep taking decisions very fast. And all those decisions will have impact. And hence you need to understand what are the high stake impacts and what are the decisions which require pivot. And it is very important for us to understand that. Now, when I say a pivot, it means that there has to be a change in strategy and vision. Your vision should, be the same. You cannot change your vision. If you have started your startup with a vision of something, the vision should continue to be the same. But you have to keep revising your strategy. And you have to validate your hypothesis that whether you are in the right path or you have to do a pivot. Now for doing the pivot, there is a zoom in pivot, which means you have to make sure that whether you want to build one feature or whether you want to create the entire product, or that feature becomes the entire product for you only, right? Whether you want to add more features into this, maybe now, maybe later, maybe once it is monetized, that is the time when we will keep on adding more features. That is something which you have to decide. Then is the customer segment. You have to decide who is the right customer for you, whether you are selling your product to the right customer or not. If you are going in the wrong segment, obviously nobody is going to purchase your product. If let's say you are creating a luxury product and you are trying to sell to the medium class, nobody is going to purchase your product. But the same thing, if you go and start putting it into the luxury segment and you are approaching all the luxury people or all the people who are having enough wealth in the world, maybe your product will survive, maybe your product will thrive also. So you have to understand who is your customer segment, and based on the customer segment you have to position your product. Whether you want to create a platform or whether you want to create an application. Nowadays there is a very big fallacy about everybody wants to create platform. You need to understand what exactly the platform will do. Is it an application related solution which we are giving, or can we scale that application to become a platform and then we can onboard more people onto it? We don't know. So you need to understand that, and then you need to work accordingly. Now, when it is the right time to pivot, and when you think that you will not be able to pivot, when your retention is low, when there is a customer who is coming but then who is not coming again, he is just buying or maybe looking at your product, he says, I will purchase it, but he is never coming back. You are not able to retain your customer. That is the time when we should pivot. When the acquisition from the customer is very high, that is the time we should pivot. When you see that there is no matching, you should pivot. And when your customer is moving faster and your product is not keeping the pace, that is also the time when we should pivot. And there are multiple companies who have done it in the past. Slack, they have moved from communication to gaming, from gaming to communication, right? Instagram, they were location app earlier, they moved to social media app. YouTube, they were dating app, and they moved to social video channel. Now the next is the people decision, and I think we have discussed about people in the initial phase also. You need to hire the right people. You need to have the right person in the organization. This is the most important thing. The first 10 people in your organization, you have to choose them very wisely, because we have seen long enough Flipkart, Swiggy, Zomato, Ola, all those entire, this gamut of unicorns who have come in the past, all the people at the top, they all have also gone and they started their own companies, and they all have also become somewhere close to unicorns or unicorns, right? So when you have decided that you want to actually go ahead and you are hiring people, you have to be very clear that you hire the right set of people, and your first 10 people will define your entire journey, right? The product focus is what you are building is not very important. What you are not building is more important. You need to understand this is something which will work, this is something which will not work. So we should not be putting our efforts into what is not working to begin with. Later on, once the product becomes mature, once the market becomes mature, then maybe you can probably pivot. Now, we all know painkillers and vitamins. We should be focusing more on painkillers. It's not that we should not be focusing on vitamins, but the most important thing is you should be always focusing on painkillers, because At the time of uncertainty, your bill will be paid only when you are focusing on painkillers. It will not be paid. People will say, okay, fine, okay, I'm good. I don't want any vitamins. I'll take care of my health for some time. But painkillers, they can't wait. They have to kill their pain, right? And that is why it is very important. Now, this is the most important part of this entire presentation, wherein we are talking about the frameworks. What are the things which we think as a framework, which we should be looking at as a toolkit to take our decisions? The most important is the 5W1H thinking framework. Why it is very important? Because if you want to do something, if you want to build a product, you need to ask right questions to your clients, to your stakeholders, to your employees, to yourself, whether you are actually doing the right thing or not, or you are just faking it. And this framework helps in getting our critical thinking and make sure that we are having the right questions in our head. And the framework is very clear. You can apply these questions to any problem in your life. Why, when, which, who, where, how. And you will be able to solve your problem. And it is very well known, very, very important, and it works like a magic. You can try it in your personal life or in your professional life or in your applications or in your products, and you will be able to see the results. In case if you are unable to see the results, please reach out to me. I will help you and I will make you understand how you are supposed to fill this in your 5W1H framework. The next most important is the reversible versus irreversible. Now here what happens is you have very, very high stakes. And because you have very high stake, you can't reverse your decision. Once you have taken a decision, you have to move ahead. You can't, there is no, there is no way you can go back. And that is where most of the startups die. Most of the startups, they think that, okay, I have taken some very big decisions and I cannot move back. Even though you can actually move back, because maybe the stakes are not that high. Maybe you have a couple of customers who are working on your products. Maybe you want to do something which is a little bit bigger or maybe better for them. And they feel that, okay, how can I tell my customer that this is something which will not work, or this will something I want to make changes, etc., etc. Right? That is where you have to keep in mind that understand what is reversible and what is irreversible. The next is the iPod model. iPod is basically you are trying to differentiate your project or product based on certain opportunities which you have identified from the market, based on the pain of certain set of people, and that you have understood based on your insights. So if you are able to find that particular thing, you will be able to create your product and the product will succeed. Because the most important thing over here is differentiation. You need to have some differentiation. You can't just say, I will just create one more product just for the heck of it. That will not work out. Then is the PACE model. PACE model is basically you have to prioritize what you are trying to do over the week, and you have to act on it. You have to implement it. Once you have implemented, you have to communicate to the right people. You have to communicate to the founder. You have to communicate to the team lead. You have to communicate to the project managers. And then you have to evaluate how well you did. Whether there is a scope of improvement. Now with the AI coming in, there is so much way that we can improve. There are so many different ways you can efficiently get your work done. So we have to do that. The next is the 6S success thinking framework. Now this is most important, because It has all the elements which are required for leading a healthy life and for success of your entrepreneurship. Because we are talking about sports. The sports is very important because it keeps you disciplined. It makes sure that you are fit. And when you are fit, you are able to do a lot of things. When you are not fit, when you are unhealthy, when you are ill, forget about anything. You can't even do your own work, right? So it is extremely important to be fit and then do work based on the winning mindset, because sports always gives us the winning mindset. You will not play sports to lose. Rather, nobody plays sports to lose. Everybody plays sports to win. Whether they win it or not, that's a different story. At least you are giving your 100%. At least you are giving your maximum, what you can give. And you are trying to win. So you will always try to get high performance when you play sports. Adrenaline will be always high. The next is the strategy. You need to have a long-term strategy. You can't have a short-term. It's good to have a short-term strategy, get some revenue out from, because you have to sustain your company also. But you need to have a long-term strategy. You need to have a long-term thinking. The most important thing is the storytelling. See, most of our founders, most of the early stage founders, including students and everybody who is aspiring to become founder, we have a lot of good ideas. We are very brilliant. I'm sure all the students of IIT-Guwahati, they are extremely brilliant technically. That's why you are in IIT, right? But the place where we lack is we can't say what we are thinking. We can't communicate clearly. We can't make things in a story and align our thought process in such a way that we are able to communicate what we are thinking, or we are able to align what our vision is. And that's where most of the startup dies, because they don't know what to say. They don't know the story. So we should work on it. Next is the systems. We should always have good and scalable system. Our processes will define whether when we are scaling to a higher organization, we will be able to scale, or our processes are, very, very fallacy. It doesn't work. So you need to define all the SOPs, you need to define all the processes. And once you have all the processes in place, taking a growth is just a matter of scale. That's it, right? Next is the support structure. Now the support structure is the most amazing and most important, because as I said in the past, as I said in the starting also, everybody wants to become hero, right? I want to do everything on my own. It doesn't work that way. We have to make sure that we have the right support structure, whether it is your family, whether it is your team, whether it is your mentors, whether it is the environment where you are living, your relatives, etc. You need to have a right support structure, so that they are backing you, or they are giving you enough room so that you can grow and you can keep on innovating. The next is the software. As we all know that, technology is taking the way, and that is the way to lead in life also. Without technology, you can't even survive nowadays. And doing innovation in the technology space is something which is going to happen, which has happened in the past, which is happening now, and which is going to happen even more in future also, with the advent of AI. So hence we have to embrace the technology. We can't say that no, we don't want to work in technology. If you are not working in technology, maybe you will not be able to survive also after some time. Even if you are in a manufacturing unit, or even if you want to do something in chemical industry or construction industry or any other industry, you will not be able to survive, or you will not be able to scale. So I think we are almost at the top of the hour. I will not take much time on these case studies because we have already discussed it. So I'll just quickly show you these case studies which we have which we have over here. So we have one is the Airbnb. Now the Airbnb is basically, it was earlier betting on humans, but what they found out that we will not be able to work, or rather we will not be able to do what we are doing if we are not getting the trust of our customers. And hence what they did was, instead of being a company which was earlier doing events for them, or different kinds of events they were doing in the different parts of the world, they switched themselves to a travel company. And when they switched themselves to the travel company, they saw that, okay, we were able to get a lot of good recognitions, and the founders were going out in the market talking to people, and then they were able to easily understand what the needs of the customers were. And they were able to pivot also, because they want to make sure that they survive and thrive. The next is the Uber. Now, Uber, it basically was a company which was doing some sort of, aggregation initially. But it never knew that the aggregation becomes so big that you will be able to rule the entire world, right? And that's what they did was they want to make sure that our pricing is so competitive that nobody can enter into this space. And even if they enter into the space, I will take the majority of the market by making sure that my pricing are absolutely competitive, and I will be giving the most important and most optimizing services to my customer. And that's how they were able to succeed. Now the next is basically the Notion. Now Notion is a company which basically started as a initial just something I want to do, right? A software company. But then they said that if I do this, I'll not be able to scale. So they had scrapped their entire product and they again rebuilt the entire product from scratch. And they didn't took any money also from VCs. It was completely bootstrapped for quite some time. So hence we have to make sure that we understand when we need money, when we don't need money. If you start taking money from the founder or from the VCs or from the investors, you will always have a sword on your head. And hence you have to figure out when you want to have bootstrapped strategy, or when you want to actually take money and probably scale, grow, etc. Because nothing is right or wrong. It is again depending on what you are thinking and your perception. The next is the Paytm. Paytm is, again, we all know, it basically started as a wallet kind of a thing. Then it moved to UPI. Suddenly it became a world, the entire India, after the demonetization, everybody started using Paytm and it became the name of the entire UPI. Nobody nowadays also, if you go somewhere, if you want to actually use UPI, people will say Paytm kar do. They don't say UPI kar do, right? They don't say that do the UPI or do the Google Pay or Phone Pay or whatever pay, right? They still say Paytm because that is something which has basically moved from one to categorization and from categorization to the UPI. Excuse me. Now, last but not the least, I would want to say that unicorn founders are not the ones who avoid mistakes. See, mistake is something which is a fundamental right of a human being. But you need to understand what that mistake is. You need to understand that what is the quantum of the mistake. right? And hence we have to always recover from that mistake. We always have to learn from that mistake. We should not repeat that mistake, and we should decide faster that okay, I have done this earlier. Okay, this didn't work. Now let me do something else. If I'm not able to think, let me try to get some expert. Let me try to get some person from outside who is unbiased and who is giving me some thinking. And maybe maybe when you are talking to someone, something else comes up, pops up in your head, etc. Because the fact that the world is changing very fast, and because the world is changing very fast, we have to make sure that we are even walking and running swifter and quickly to catch up with the world, or to catch up with the changes which are happening in the world. Right? With that, I would say that you know all the people who are in this particular virtual session, and especially the IIT Guwahati people, you are the people who will be building lot of startups, I'm sure, tomorrow or in times to come. Hence, don't put any boundaries in your head. Don't put any prejudice biases in your head. Try to work based on these frameworks which we have discussed or which we have learned over this call. Don't wait for any permission from anyone. Even your parents are not going to give you permission. Your brother, sister, your people, everybody, nobody is going to give you permission. Okay, you start. They will say that go and do a job, get a right job, and go and do the job. Get the money and stay and live healthy. Nobody is going to give you permission that go and start a new startup, because everybody knows starting a startup is a very, very big hustle in the life. Don't wait for funding. If your product is good, people will come to you, take my money, take my money. And don't wait for validation. If you have any idea, go and take clients, go and talk to the clients, go and try to see that whether it is working or not working. Don't wait that okay, I have thought about something, now let me go and validate with someone whether it will work or not work. Maybe they will probably take your idea and they will start working on your idea, right? So you need to be careful about choosing who is the right person to whom you will be discussing, and who is not the right person with whom you should not be talking about your startup idea. Now, build something. As we speak in this forum, you should build something which becomes the next unicorn. And India needs a lot of unicorns. And India needs people like you who are hungry, who are unstoppable, who are crazy, who are having
resilient.
a startup mindset, and who are resilient for any changes. Right? With that, I would like to conclude with the fact that you have to, in next 48 hours, you have to take one courageous decision which you would want to do as part of whatever you want to do, whether you want to do it in your life, whether you want to do it in your startup, whether you want to do it with your ideas, etc. But you have to take one courageous decision in the next 48 hours, which will change your life. And you can reach out to me within this contacts which are listed below, and I am ready to help and support and ask any questions if it arises thinking about your decision. With that, I would like to conclude, and I would like to thank each and everyone, all the participants who are there in the forum, that you have actually spent a lot of time and you have stayed with me, and you have listened to whatever I have been talking about. So with that, I'll open up for questions and answers.
So, very thank you, sir, for your informative session. We really enjoyed that. And now I would encourage all the participants who have any sort of questions can raise their hand and ask their questions.
I'm having one question, sir.
Yes, yes, proceed.
Yes.
I'm Athuru Dhore. I'm working on agri-tech startup. The problem we are addressing is big enough, and the solution is also strong. But the behavioral barriers in rural areas like trust, payment assurance, and work done verification is blocking our adoption. So, what is the practical strategies and the on-ground models can we use to overcome this challenges effectively? And one of the thing is that these challenges are also potential signs that we need to pivot or they can be solved with the right approach.
Right. Good question. See, when you are talking about a fintech in rural area, obviously there will be challenges because still the internet penetration in the rural area is less. Still, people are not too much educated. There is a problem with the education with the people. They need to be aware of what are the different modes of payment, or maybe what are the different fintech. I don't know about your products or services which you are trying to give, but I'm just giving you a generalized approach or generalized way of thinking through. When you are talking to someone who is in the rural area, maybe they are not too much aware about financial terms, but they understand business because they know पैसा लेना है, पैसा बनाना है और पैसा कमाना है. So you have to make your case studies, or you have to, the way you are explaining to those people have to be simple enough so that it goes to them in a way which they can understand. You can't say, I will give all my financial jargon. I will say, okay, balance sheet, cash flow, EBITDA, this, that, blah, blah, blah. It will not work. They don't understand these things because we are talking about rural part. If you would have been a urban part, if you would have been a metro cities, I would have told you a different thing. But since we are talking about the rural area, you have to make sure that first most important thing you have to understand is what is the behavioral mindset of those people, where they want to spend money. Most of the people, according to my experience, they would want to spend money in gold. They will not go with any investment plans which you are coming up with. They will not go with any mutual funds which you are going ahead with. Nowadays, the adoption has increased, but still there are reservations, there are restrictions. And hence you have to understand what is those restrictions, behaviors which they have in their mind by talking to them, by understanding. Don't negate. If they are saying something, don't just negate it. You have to go even more deeper. Go to that 5W1H model, thinking model. Understand why they are saying what they are saying. What is the problem? What exactly is the problem? The problem is probably not the money they want to spend. Rather, I would say the most of the money in India is in the middle class, in the rural class only. That's why everybody, all these big companies nowadays, they want to actually go and penetrate into the rural area. So the problem is not that they are not able to take your services. The problem is that how do we give them enough understanding so that they can understand what we are trying to tell them. Don't go for push selling. Don't push selling on them. It doesn't work. You have to become partners with them. You have to educate them because they don't have education. I mean, it is not your problem or my problem. That is another problem which we have to solve as a collective people. That how can we make education penetrate deep down, right? But the problem over here is that you have to educate them. You have to create something which is more valuable for them. which is more easier for them to understand. And then probably your product, which is very good, as you are saying, it might probably thrive. And we might see another unicorn. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
So we have a question from Shreyans Agrawal in the chat box. Can you please open the chat box?
Okay, one second. Okay, so Shreyans Agarwal, he is asking, in a two-sided marketplace where both providers and consumers depend on each other, which side should be prioritized first, and how can both sides be built in parallel without falling into the chicken and egg trap? This is very, very interesting question. Now, first let me first try to give you an understanding of, we all nowadays are talking about marketplace, because that has started from maybe Flipkart and Amazon and all, and then everybody started talking about, okay, let me build this, let me get people from the supplier side, let me get people from the consumer side, and we will just keep taking commission. It doesn't work that way. First, you need to have a very high customer base. You don't even have to get your suppliers onboarded. Why don't you have a team? Let's say, Shreyans, why don't you have a team who has supplier connects and don't onboard them into marketplace? Just tell them that we are doing the trading, just the traditional way of trading, right? You do the trading, tell them that all my consumers, okay, if you trust us, okay, I am launching an app, you place your order in the app, and we will make sure that we will deliver it to you, right? And then you, on the other side, talk to your suppliers. I don't know which business you are talking about, but you talk to your suppliers and try to get all the materials, get it shipped in-house or a warehouse, and then start supplying to your customers. Once you have your customer base, because they are the people who are going to pay you, by the way. If you don't have customers, suppliers are not going to get onboarded into your platform also. So first, get your customers. Once you have a good base of customers, and once you have a good understanding of the buyer pattern of the customers, buyer behavior, customer behavior, then you can start talking to different suppliers, and you can start onboarding the suppliers onto the platform, saying that we already have demand, we have been already working with you, now why don't you come directly into this platform, and you can ship whatever cost, and you have to give the supplier incentive, not you should not charge them, you should give them incentive that if the customer is giving an order, instead of now we supplying the order, you can directly take the order and you can supply the order. In this process, you are saving cost, and you are also saving cost. Your marketplace is also saving cost, because now the customer is getting the delivery of the product directly from the supplier. For example, if you don't want to have the fleet management services, again, I'm going into that. But if you want to actually have a fleet management services, then you have to have another discussion with your supplier. I am going to collect all your stuff. I am going to deliver all your stuff. But only thing you have to do is you have to make sure that you are giving me all the different products which I am placing the order. Right? You can't say, boss, I am giving you order for one day and the next day I am not giving you order, or I am not fulfilling your order. That will be again a problem for you, because you cannot retain your customers. The customers will be saying that, okay, this guy is unreliable. He says that, okay, my product will come in 5 days in the marketplace, then it doesn't come till 15 days, and you will start getting bad reviews. So you have to first solve this supply chain of your customers at one side and suppliers at one side. Once you have both in abundance, then you can start thinking of creating a marketplace. That's what Amazon did. That's what Flipkart did. That's what everybody is doing. Even Zomato, Swiggy, everybody does the same thing. Even these guys, the Uber, they also did the same thing. They didn't wanted to create a marketplace. They just wanted to become a ride operator. That's it. I am giving riders, okay, why don't you go there and do this? Why don't you? And they were giving very high margins to the drivers. But then eventually they saw that I have so many customers, I have so many drivers, I have everything in the eco space. Why don't I create my own platform and then club everything together and then start getting commission out of it? And that becomes their business model, right? So you have to think about what is your specialization and how can you bridge this gap of suppliers and the consumers, and then you can club them together in a marketplace. So it is not a chicken and egg, it is more about consumers. Any other questions? Hope I answered your questions, Reyansh. I'm not sure whether you are there on the call or not. Thank you. Okay, so Ruchi is asking, what is the key lesson from your own founder entrepreneur journey that you would like to share with founders? That is absolutely amazing question. So the first, I have learned a lot. I would say I have evolved a lot, right? By learning so many lessons from what we do on a daily basis and what we have done in the past as well. And since I am coming from the consulting background, talking to various leaders in the organization in different sectors, there has been a lot of learning. The most important, according to me, is you have to have a learning mindset. If you are unable to learn, you think what I know is it, there is nothing which is on top of it, I think you will not be able to succeed. Because you are now trapping yourself to certain shackles, which you don't know. If you open it, where it can go. That is the first most important thing. Second thing is you have to reach out for help. You can't do everything on your own. That is impossible. This is something which I have learned over and over again. It is impossible to do everything on your own. You can't be a hero. Even if you are a hero for a particular thing. You can't become a hero of everything. It is impossible. And hence, we need to have collaboration. You need to have collaboration with right people. You need to have collaboration with people who are not smarter version of you, who are bringing diverse skill set on the table. Don't hire or don't collaborate with people who are smarter version of you. Otherwise, you will always have a problem. Okay, are this guy is always smarter than me? Okay, how do I call? How do I say something to him? Don't do that. The third most important lesson is you need to understand your finances. You need to make sure that you have good runway. If you have good runway, you will be able to make money, maybe not now, maybe 3 years, 6 years down the line. And maybe you have some soft commitments going on from somewhere. Maybe you are in a situation that maybe, things will materialize, or maybe you have some idea which you have validated or you have verified. I'll not say validated, but you have verified with a lot of people, whether it will work, whether this thing, if I do this, whether do you think it will work, whether if I do this, do you think you will purchase, do you think you will get clients? Definitely go ahead with those ideas. Don't limit it or don't do too much of procrastination. Otherwise the idea will die. So I will take 3 lessons. I am sure, if I go on, it will be another 20 or 30 more lessons. But these are the 3 top lessons.
Absolutely amazing, Abhishek. I plan to stay for 3 more 30 minutes and you have captivated the audience for more than 1 hour, and which is brilliant. I look forward to connecting with you again, and I hope the IIT Guwahati students also learned as much, and with your own, founder journey. Not just once, but two times you have been a founder and an entrepreneur, and this was a very, very good session. I learned a lot.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Rishu. Thanks a lot, Ruchi. Pleasure. My pleasure. Okay, great. Anybody else? Anything? Or else we can conclude. Akub, your call.
So, guys, we are about to wrap up. Are there any more questions, or else we'll wrap up? Sir, we'll wait for a minute, then we can wrap up.
Sure, sure. Yeah, definitely. Feel free. So, guys, my contact details are already there. In case I understand. I also come from the same journey. A lot of people are think that I cannot speak in the public, or a lot of people they think that I it will people will start laughing at me if I say something or something like that, right? So, in case you have that fear still in your mind, being in the IITs, I think you should take my contact details. It is right there on the screen. And I'm happy to connect with you guys, either in whichever format you want, or the email, call, LinkedIn, whatever, etc. And yeah, happy to talk to you, or happy to discuss anything which you would like from my side. Thank you. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks a lot for being so patiently listening to whatever I have been talking about. And I am truly delighted. Again, I would like to thank IIT Guwahati for giving me this opportunity. I would like to thank Sandesh, Akub, and entire team of IIT Guwahati who have arranged this session. And I am extremely delighted that so many people have joined, and a lot of people have also left. But I'm sure people might have gained some insights, if not more, from this session. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.